Tashtilik, welcome to Tibettv. Recently, a book on His Holiness the Dalai Lama's life has been launched. It is called The Extraordinary Life of Dalai Lama by Rima Fujita, who is internationally known and acclaimed. Today, on the occasion of His Holiness's 86th birthday, we will talk about the book with its author, Rima Fujita. Welcome to Tibettv, Rima Fujita.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Rimala, first of all, can you please tell us briefly about your first meeting with His Holiness the Dalai Lama and your association with the cause of Tibet?
Thank you so much for having me. It's my honor to be here with you. So, I didn't know where exactly Tibet was, nor who the Dalai Lama was until my late 20s. And one night during my sleep, I heard this commanding voice which said, "Help Tibet now." So next day, I spent all day researching about Tibet. And that was the first time I really learned about the Dalai Lama and the tragedy of Tibetan history. But I didn't know what to do to help Tibet as an artist. Then I began meeting Tibetans, and one day I was talking to my first Tibetan friend, and I got this inspiration to create picture books for Tibetan refugee children in Tibetan language to help them preserve their unique culture and language. And I met His Holiness about 20 years ago for the first time. And in that moment, everything just stopped and my head went totally blank. And it was the most absolutely blessing moment.
Your latest book, The Extraordinary Life of Dalai Lama, has been published recently. Can you please tell us briefly about the content of the book, your experience writing this book, and the challenges that came along with it?
Some years ago, one of His Holiness's representatives requested me to create a picture book of His Holiness's life. And it was the biggest honor in my life, as you can imagine, as I respect His Holiness more than anybody in this world. And this book has 13 chapters starting with his birth and how he was discovered, and it ends with his current wish for the world and for the humanity. And each chapter has my drawing, and this book also shares a few rare episodes of His Holiness, and so it's quite unique, I think. And first, I wanted to publish this book in Japan because I'm Japanese, although I live in the States. And in Japan, there are not too many books about His Holiness. So I wanted to publish this book in Japan, in Japanese language. I spent 2 years negotiating with the top publishers there. But long story short, it didn't work out. Could be for political reasons. So I talked to the confidants of His Holiness, and they said, okay, we can do it in America. And Wisdom Publications wanted to do it. I said, wonderful, great, because they're highly respected publisher in the States and in the world. So it all worked out perfectly at the end.
Well, you are a well-known artist and very much loved for your philanthropic works. Where do you derive your motivation from, and in what ways do your art touch people's lives?
So I grew up in New York City and studied art there, and I had a very lucky start as a young artist. In my mid-20s, I was already selling my art well, and I was making a very good living. But I was not happy. I was not happy in the commercial art world. I saw lots of greed, deceptions, and jealousy. And I had many bad experiences with art dealers also. Then one day I heard this voice in my dream and it said, "Help Tibet now," right? So that really completely changed everything. Until then, my art was a goal, but this dream really helped me to realize art was only a tool to serve humanity or help others. And it was not a goal. So that really gave me the sense of mission and the purpose of why I create art, especially for the Tibetan refugee children. I have a sweet spot for them. And I'm still a full-time artist, and I make my living by selling my art. And I'm very fortunate to do so. And but at the same time, I try to stay away from the commercial art world as much as I can. And my art is not for everyone or for the mass, because my art style is very particular. Art is very personal. And the people who like my art tell me my art makes them feel happy, uplifted, healed, hopeful, things like that. And that's really wonderful to know. And also, art in general can bring messages that words cannot. It's an amazing communication tool to convey emotions that need to be expressed.
Many of us are aware of your contribution towards the Tibetan community through your works. Could you please elaborate on the projects you undertook with CTA's Department of Education and Department of Health?
So one day, the health department of CTA contacted me and asked me to collaborate to create their first sexual health educational book. And I said, sure, it's my honor. And then the first thing I was visualizing was a typical American sex education book, which teaches children how to have safe sex, contraceptions, and all that. And the health department said, well, we're not there quite yet. So I learned what they were looking for was it was more about empowerment, especially for girls. So we conducted this essay contest, and some brave students wrote about their very painful experiences about sexual abuse, especially among the family members. And there are also emotional and mental difficulties during the lesson time. And it was a very meaningful, important project. And also, those brave students who shared their experiences, they really emphasized other students to come out, speak up, or fight back when they go through a difficult, like sexual abuse or any other difficult experiences, rather than holding inside. So I think it was a very important book. And then a few years later, I wanted to make a book on the Tibetan identity because I was witnessing so many conflicts between the Tibetan communities. And it really made me sad to see Tibetans fight among themselves, especially now where all Tibetans must really unite in solidarity. So I contacted this education department and I said, look, I want to make this book with you. And they said, great idea, let's do it. So again, we conducted this essay contest, but this time globally. We reached out to all these Tibetan youth and then all over the world. And the winners, we picked about 30 winners, and then they all wrote about what Tibetan identity meant to them. And again, it was a very, very important book, I think, and I think we did a really good job.
So to conclude this interview, today we are celebrating His Holiness's 86th birthday. According to you, what is the most important thing that the world should learn from His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama?
He is a living example of a man who faced so many difficulties in life and yet calls himself a happy man. I mean, it's incredible, right? And I've learned so much from His Holiness and his teachings. But ultimately, the bottom line, I think the most important thing I learned from him is to really help others, because that's the true key to the happiness, to your own happiness, by helping others, by doing something to contribute to the society and community and just for other people and other beings. And that's, I think, really the most important teaching I learned from him. And I try to live my life that way. And I respect him more than anyone in this world. And I just wish him a long, long life. And because we need him, the world needs him. And he just brings us nothing but joy. I just respect him so much.
Thank you for your time with Tibettv. With our limited time, we have to stop the interview here. It is an honor having you on our show today, Ms. Rima Fujita, especially on this very special occasion.
Thank you so much. Happy birthday, Your Holiness.